So, good afternoon, everyone. I'm very pleased to be here today and to have this opportunity to share with you some thoughts and ideas we've developed recently within Air Liquide regarding new questions raising and popping up in the context of the circular economy. As pointed out by some of the speakers this morning, in the context of circular economy, we will have to manage new interface, new interaction between players. We will have new players entering into the game, people who are not used to work together, and how can these people work together in order for the project to materialize. Of course, this is true from the economical point of view. We will have to develop some new business models. But what I want to focus on today is more on the environmental benefit point of view. How can we share the benefit? How can each player find its role and value its position? So very first introduction about Air Liquide and our role in the energy transition. So, as you probably know, Air Liquide is a world leader in gases, technology, and services for industry, all kinds of industry, chemistry, of course, but we are present and serving all the industry, and health for patients, for home care, and for hospitals. So, 66,000 employees serving 3.6 million customers in more than 80 countries. So our scientific territory is what we call the essential small molecules. So these small molecules are essential for life, for matter, and for energy. And they are coming either separated from the air, or we are producing them out of resources from the earth. About 1 year ago, Air Liquide published our climate objectives. So these climate objectives are going in three directions. So first, reducing the carbon footprint of our assets. So we have the objective to reduce it by 2025 by 30%. Secondly, it's reducing, serving our customers and helping our customers to reduce your carbon footprint by providing technology and gases. And also, of course, contribute to a new low-carbon society for the benefit of all the ecosystem, all stakeholders, for the society in general. Now, coming to a little bit more in details to circular economy. So, the linear economy we have been working with for decades, for centuries, which is based on taking resources from the earth, fabricating, transforming it, and then throwing it away, is based on two hypotheses that are now not less acceptable and not less sustainable. First, infinite resources of the earth, and we all know that it's not true, and this is becoming really an issue. And secondly, infinite regenerative capacity of the earth. So we have to change this paradigm. And that's where the circular economy is entering into the game, which is based on three principles: regeneration of the natural system, keep the products or reuse, and design, just start by designing with designing out of waste and pollution, just with better efficiency. So you may know this graph, and this is from the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. And basically what you have, so the green side of the graph is representing the cycles. And this is basically what Mother Earth is doing forever, but we can also enter into this, we can also promote these cycles, we can help these cycles to accelerate them. On the other side, on the blue side, this is the industrial aspect of the circular economy, starting by just reusing the material, by repairing, and we had a very interesting talk this morning, earlier from Professor Kumara, and this is exactly what we are talking about here. So, what we have tried to do within Air Liquide is to identify where we play a role today and where we could further play a role in the circular economy. So don't be afraid, I will not describe all the table here. So there are much more example. But basically what we have tried to do is within this matrix to position our different actions in the circular economy based on the three principles from the Ellen MacArthur Foundation and the three dimensions I was talking about from our commitment, so asset, customer, and ecosystem. And here, for example, just to name one or two examples, very simple one, if we want to design out of waste of pollution, designing with energy efficiency is something we've ever done. I mean, it's really we did it from the beginning, more from an economical point of view to reduce costs, but of course it has a role to play in the circular economy. And for example, for customers, we are selling biomethane, producing biomethane, and I will come later more in details into these examples for customers to replace fossil fuels. So the biogas example. So this is a little bit a vision that we have for biogas. So some of these examples are existing already. The full picture is existing partially. So we can so this is starting from using the waste, the organic waste from the farming and from the food waste collection, putting them into the digester. The digester then where Air Liquide is playing a role is here in this upgrading unit. So we are designing and operating these upgrading units. And of course, we produce the biomethane. The biomethane is then used by the trucks, for example, who will ensure the transport of all the food and the product from the farming. And also from the upgrading unit, we will be able to separate CO2, and this CO2 can be further used in the food and beverage industry, can be used by the farmer in greenhouses, for example, can be used also during the retail for clean transportation and what we call our product, which we call CryoCity. On top of that, the digestate from the digester can be sent back to the farming as a fertilizer. Second example, plastic. So we talked also a little bit about it during the day. So starting from the raw material, from the raw sources, so we are producing the material, producing the plastic. The plastic is used and will end up eventually in a landfill, and that's where the recycling process can happen. And within Air Liquide, so we are already involved. So of course, we have always been involved here into the transformation of the raw material into the plastic product by providing gases. But now, what we can also, where we can also have a role is, and we are already doing it, providing gas, for example, for mechanical recycling and cryogrinding as an example. And we could also position ourselves here in the chemical recycling by providing technology to be able to, for example, to gasify or to pyrolyze this waste for them to enter again the loop, or as in an open loop recycling to be sent to other product transformation. So now, what we have called the boundary questions. I like to give a very simple example. So if you have one company A producing, for example, plastic out of oil, then the plastic is used and then will finish as a waste. And the company B is, for example, producing methanol out of natural gas. So in an industrial symbiosis scheme, A and B would like to work together, and in many cases, not always, but in many cases, you will need a third player to close the loop. And this third player, C, in this specific case, can take the plastic waste, gasify it or pyrolyze it, to send it back or gasify it, for example, to produce syngas that will be used by bee to produce, again, methanol. And of course, what we expect from that is no more waste after the consumer use, and no more natural resources used by bee. So in this scheme, obviously we have some environmental benefits, much less waste, if possible, no waste at all, and less natural resources used by A. The problem we have, and again, this was very well explained a little bit earlier, C needs energy, and the recycling needs energy. So there is no free lunch. If you want to do that, you need to input some energy. So it means that from an environmental point of view, you are adding some burden into the system. If we use life cycle assessment methodology, we know how to evaluate the benefit for A, comparing the previous situation to the new situation, just by saying, okay, now there is no waste anymore for A. Same thing, we can evaluate the benefit for B, comparing the two situations, saying now B is not using natural resource anymore. And we can also include the full system, and we can have the global perspective and evaluate, compare the situation before and after for the symbiotic system. But now I would like to move to a product approach. And why do I need to move to a product approach? It's because I need to talk to my shareholders. I need to talk to my consumers. I need to talk to the public. And I need to explain them, okay, I am A, I am B, I am C, and C is the most tricky part. And what I am doing, how do I contribute to this overall benefit? So actually, we need to share the benefit between the three players, and especially for C. C is the one who is basically allowing the full system to be beneficial, hopefully, but he has only burdens. Okay, so his contribution is not obvious from the beginning. So we need to share between the different players, but in the LCA methodology, there is no general rules which has been defined or commonly agreed to do this, to share between the different actors. So actually there are several rules which are existing. One is the cutoff rule, where you have an arbitrary cut at one point in the chain. There is a 50-50% allocation, which is also some kind of arbitrary. And the circular footprint formula, which I will not explain to you because I'm not sure I understood it completely, but it's also something which is developed and which is basically representing the value of the waste. So we have now three challenges. The first one is that in LCA technology, in LCA methodology, it's very complex to be used for recycling. The second one is the case of C, because C, as I mentioned before, is here to allow the full system to work, but he has only burdens. So if you just look at what he's producing, he is just adding environmental impact to the full system. So he needs to find a way to valorize its position. And in addition of that, and it's true for all kinds of LCA studies, when you are doing LCA, you are not looking only at climate change or CO2 impact. You are looking at all kinds of environmental impact. And the big difficulty we have in LCA is that this different impact, you cannot really aggregate them. So you cannot compare acidification and global warming. You cannot compare resource depletion and global warming, for example. And that's where we are proposing to introduce the eco-cost methodology, because we have the feeling and we think that eco-cost will be able to help all of the partners to talk together and to define a good situation and a good way to exchange and to manage the transition. What is eco-cost? So EcoCost is a methodology which has been developed by Professor Voigtländer from TU Delft, University TU Delft, and is basically a way to monetize the environmental impact. So this is giving a value to the impact. So instead of having, instead of having all these units for each of the environmental impact, we will transform each of the impact into euro or dollar or pound or whatever you want. And this value is representing actually the prevention cost of the impact. So how much do I need to invest in my production facility in order to avoid the CO2 emission? Okay, or to avoid sending SO2, SOx to the atmosphere. So this methodology has we think it has a very high business relevance because it represents a risk, financial risk that you have of not being compliant with future regulation. So this is one example of EcoCost one example where we use EcoCost recently, and we have made a publication on that. So it's not exactly circular economy case, but I think it can give you an example where really EcoCost can be a good tool. Within this study, we've compared the eco cost of producing hydrogen. And we know that producing hydrogen from natural gas is emitting a significant amount of CO2, so of course impact of climate change. But on the other hand, the hydrogen we are producing is used in the refinery to reduce the sulfur content in diesel. So it means that when the diesel is used in engines, there is less acidification, less SO2 or SOx sent to the atmosphere. So this is an eco-credit, okay? And so we made the exercise, and actually what we could show is that the eco-credit of using ultra-low sulfur diesel is way higher than the eco-cost of the CO2 we are emitting. So this is an example to show you how eco-cost can be useful to compare two things which from the beginning are very, very difficult to compare. Can you choose between climate change and air pollution? I mean, it's kind of difficult to assess. So how do we think EcoCost could help in the case of a circular economy? So I like to take here the example of the Pot-au-Pin energy site. So it's near Bordeaux in France. And here we have the player A, which is the farmer. The farmer, before sending its, the farmer is producing fruits, vegetable, and before he was just sending what he could not sell to, it was just sent away or thrown away. Now he's sending his waste, his vegetable waste, to player C, which is the Pot-au-Pin plant, biogas plant, and the player B before was GRDF, so selling, for example, natural gas to trucks, to LNG for trucks. And so the environmental impact of player B has also been reduced because now B is able to sell biogas. Okay, so this small square here or rectangles here are representing the environmental impact before the biogas plant and after the biogas plant. And here, same for B. Now, C. Before we have this plant, C had no impact because C was not existing. Okay, so that's very zero impact. But now that C is there, C has, of course, an impact because it's consuming energy, because biogas plants are also emitting are also responsible for partially for acidification. So what can I do? Okay, C can say, hey guy, without me, you cannot have this benefit. Okay, so please, maybe we can share a little bit of your benefit. And the benefit from A and from B can be translated or transferred to C as a kind of environmental credits. Same thing, the environmental impact of C, which was not existing before, can be somehow transferred to A and B in such a way that we can find an equilibrium and we can find an arrangement and at least a discussion between the three players. So this is a little bit conceptual, but we think that thanks to the monetization, we can achieve this kind of thing. If we don't have the same language, if we don't speak dollar or euro or whatever, we will not be able to compare this type of exchange with the business model, with the economical flux. And in addition to that, so we can integrate all the category into one, and by using this kind of monetization, we are also able to determine which of the allocation method will be the most relevant, which is something which was almost impossible to do if we were comparing apples and pears. So that's where we are, okay? So now we propose to use the eco-cost as a tool, because we think that within the circular economy, we will need new tools, if possible scientifically based and agreed by everybody. We need new tools to exchange and to manage the interface. So if you think the approach is interesting, please, I'm really looking forward to your questions, to your comments. If you have some concrete examples that we could try to think about, you are welcome. Thank you. Thank you very much.